Welcome to the Body and Beyond podcast with Alice and Gina,
a podcast sparking discussion on all things health, mindset, fitness, goals, and motivation.
We strive to help you to boost your confidence, to take the lead in your own life, to back yourself, and to step into your full potential. Body and Beyond is proudly sponsored by The Seed Cycle. The Seed Cycle is a beautiful female-founded Australian company. Seed cycling is a natural methodology that you can use to support your menstruation and your ovulation, and it can even be used to support your hormones through perimenopause and menopause. Use the code BODY and BEYOND at the Seed Cycle website www.theseedcycle.com.au. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Body and Beyond podcast with Alice and Gina. Today we have the beautiful Kata Cser. Hello, Kata.
Hello there.
Hello, lovely to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited. I've been listening to you guys, so I'm so keen to actually be a guest for you and get to chat.
Yes, absolutely. And we're very excited to cover all things business, challenges you've experienced over the years with the multiple businesses that you've worked in and created yourself as well. And as well dive into some like personal mindset stuff and how you've overcome those difficult times.
Yeah, it would be great, Kata, if you could run us through a little bit about yourself and your story. Who are you? What do you do?
Sure. Well, I have been a business owner for 10 years. Prior to that, I was in the public service. So I used to be in human resources and recruitment, and I was a part-time dance teacher. And when I was 21 years old, my dad was diagnosed with cancer for the first time. And that basically changed my life completely because I became his primary carer. And what I realized through that challenge, which is a great segue into our topic today, is that being prepared for impact is something that I think so few of us do, but is so important to be able to navigate challenges that you just don't see coming. So when Dad got sick, I realized very quickly that my public service job was not going to provide me both the time and the resources that I needed to be there for him. And family is one of my highest values, and not being able to be there for my family was just not an option. So that's when I started looking around at what other ways I could make money next to my full-time job. But I didn't have any resources. I didn't have any other skill set aside from being good with people. I didn't have extra time. I didn't have extra money. I knew nothing about real estate or investing. And that's basically what led me to network marketing as my first business. And what drew me to it was the fact that it was effort-based and there was a system to train me and to show me how to start and scale a business. So I started with that, ended up quitting my job and moving to New York and starting to work virtually for the first time. So I've probably been self-employed for now 8 years, I think. While I was on that trajectory, I realized that there was a lot of challenges in network marketing, and there were a lot of people running their businesses unethically. A lot of people didn't like the industry. And I essentially started my own coaching business, teaching people how to build businesses sustainably and ethically, which is two things I'm really passionate about. I was put in a position where I had to basically choose to either give up my network marketing business and continue coaching, or keep my network marketing business and give up the coaching. So I decided at that point to stick with the network marketing. I really, really wanted to hit the top level and see how far I could go. So I did that. But I also started a wine company back in 2016. And that's my first ever startup business. It's my first time playing in the wine industry. It has been an absolute shit show. It has been so hard, but it has also probably been the most fulfilling thing that I have ever done, because now we're finally at a point 6 years later where we've come up with this brand new product called a wine pouch, and we're driving it forward and people are starting to recognize it. So yeah, basically, I suppose what I am known for and what I do is run a network marketing business still 10 years later, but use every single thing that I create from there to funnel into my startup business.
That's so cool. And I'm so excited for you to tell our listeners more about your beautiful wine brands, Wine Not which we've been along the journey with you the whole time, which is so exciting. What would you say, like, I know there's been quite a few challenges along the way with Why Not? What would you say the biggest couple of challenges have been for you with that business?
Oh gosh. I mean, look, when I started, I was 25. I think I was living in Bondi. And I remember telling somebody that I was going to start a wine company, and they literally laughed in my face and were like, good luck. That's going to be so expensive. You're not in the wine industry. You're not backed by money. Your family doesn't own a winery or a vineyard. Like, there is absolutely no way in hell you're going to be able to do that. But I'm the kind of person that when I'm presented with a challenge, I truly believe that where there is a will, there is a way. And I believe that the impossible can be done because it is done regularly on a daily basis all over the world. So I think my biggest challenge with Why Not, when I look at it as a whole, is probably the fact that I don't have any experience in the industry. I'm literally learning as I go. I'm making mistakes as I go. If I want to know something, I have to Google it, or I have to find a resource. I have to sell myself. I have to get vineyards and winemakers and industry to buy into me for me to actually be able to have the product to then on sell. Then I need to figure out how to do that. And generally, what works for every other e-commerce business does not work for alcohol, because liquor is something that's highly prohibited online. So the regular strategies and tactics and methods that are easily accessible through trainings and Google and whatnot don't work for wine. So my biggest challenges would be being completely unfamiliar with what's next, learning on the go, and being in alcohol is really, really hard.
Wow, that's huge. But I would love to know, Kata, so just that story of you saying, like, you told someone this grand idea, which is a massive idea, right? Like, I'm going to start a wine company, and someone laughing in your face. Like, I want to know from your point of view, like, what was the first thing that you did to actually start putting in the work, like to start the whole idea of the brand? Because I feel like so many people, when they look at a bigger picture like that, when you're where you are now and you think of starting a wine company, like, someone will just look at that and go, holy hell, like it's overwhelming, it's too much. So how did you take that idea and start from the bottom? Like, what was the first thing that you did?
Yes, good question. So one thing that I have learned along this business journey with all three businesses is that the very, very best place to start with anything is to find somebody who's done it before, or as close as possible to done it before. So network marketing is easy. You literally sign up and you're in a system already. But when you're doing a startup business, your own idea, your own concept, you've got to find somebody, in my opinion, that is further down the path from you. So in my instance, I wanted to get into the wine industry. I had no one in my world was in wine. And this is a little bit cheeky, but it kind of worked out for the best. I was on Tinder back in the day when I was single and swiping along as you do. And I came across a wine consultant on Tinder in Sydney. I decided to pitch my idea to him. He thought we were going on a date. Doesn't matter. We ended up going on this thing, and I wrote my idea down for him on a napkin. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to create an aesthetic wine brand specifically for female millennials. What do you think? Has it been done before? What's your feedback? He was in the industry selling wine already. He was a sommelier, so he had the wine experience, and he also had the sales experience as a wine consultant. So the first thing that I did when I was thinking of Why Not was actually pitch it to somebody in the industry and get as much information as I possibly could.
I love that, because it's kind of like, it's like any goal, right? Once you vocalize it and tell someone else around you, it becomes a real thing. So if there's something that you're sitting on, even if it's just like a health goal or a small goal or a huge goal, it's that first tiny step is like opening the door to, making it heard by those around you, I guess. And that makes it real, right? It's like, this is happening now.
Yeah, and getting the feedback immediately. Like, to be fair, if I had pitched it to the wrong person who was not in the industry or didn't have an open mind, it's possible that the concept may have never happened. So when I say pitch it to someone, I also mean someone who is where you want to be, or has done what you want to do, or has more knowledge in that particular field. So you're going to get actual feedback instead of a skewed perspective. So when I
Relevant
pitched it to
feedback.
him, that's it. I wanted to know, like, you sell wine for a living. Is there any possibility at all that this wine would sell? And that's where I went from.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious, and I think this could be helpful for everyone, like all of us. There's so many times throughout life, hey, where we can receive this external feedback or this external opinion, or in the example, who was it, or not who, but like where in the journey was this person who laughed in your face with the idea? Was it
right? Yeah. So that was after I had pitched this guy in Sydney, and he had come on as a business partner with me. We started it together. And then we were having a business meeting, and one of his friends in the wine industry was like dropping off wine to a restaurant that we were at.
Yeah.
And that's where he was like, oh, what are you guys doing? And I said, well, I'm starting a wine company. And he was the one that laughed in my face. So that was probably like 30 days into the journey. But I had somebody there beside me that believed in it. And I reflected back from him, his belief. And because he bought into me, so I sold myself to him, but then he would continue to protect me in that very, very fragile beginning stage. So I lent on him a lot in the beginning to back that up, because you don't know what you don't know. That ignorance was probably also one of my biggest strengths, though, because if I knew back then how hard
it was going to be,
expensive, and how long this would have gone on for, I probably, to be completely honest, would not have even started. So I'm grateful that I was ignorant, even though it was one of the hardest things. It was probably one of the biggest blessings.
And also I was curious around like that external feedback versus your internal drive, and how I guess what you're kind of sharing is that potentially you did need that external person on your team to help the process move along, compared to knowing in your heart you were going to keep trying at that early stage.
Yeah, I mean, my attitude at that point was, well, how hard can it be? You get a wine bottle, you stick a label on it, and you sell it. Like, that's how hard I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to take 3 months. I thought I was going to need basically no capital. I put it on Kickstarter, which again, we got booted off because you're not allowed to sell alcohol. So that was the first, like, oh my God, like liquor is going to be a whole other world. But I don't even think it was like a self-belief thing. I didn't have the self-belief. I just didn't have the doubt, because I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
So it really was that naivety was keeping me alive, because every time I would hear that kind of feedback, I'm like, it can't be that hard. Like, surely it can't be that hard. And I think the reason that I didn't probably absorb that negativity was because the people who were giving me that feedback, the negative feedback, weren't where I wanted to be. They were not the kind of people that I wanted to be. And to be honest, they were older generation men, which has been the challenge this entire wine company. Is I've been a woman in my 20s and now 30s, and the people that are the gatekeepers for the wine industry in general are men in their 50s. So when a man in his 50s says you can't do it, as a woman in your 30s, you kind of look at him and you're like, your feedback means nothing to me because I'm not trying to get to where you are.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that is relevant, like a takeaway potentially for everyone else, whether they're in corporate world or private or starting a business. Like, yeah, it's a good point you make. Is the person giving you that feedback, that critical feedback, are they where you want to be? And
are they qualified to be giving you that feedback?
And get more opinions. Don't just base your trajectory on one person's opinion.
100%.
Yeah.
So then, Kata, can you give us a little idea of maybe some of the top challenges that you've had along the way of Why Not so far, and what has, I guess, kept you going as well?
Sure.
2 questions.
Should I start from the beginning and go this way, or should I start with the most recent challenge and go backwards? I remember writing down in my notebook one time, I was having a moment, and I was just thinking, this has been so hard. And then I thought, well, has it been hard, or is my attitude just off? So I like to write things down. I have a book, and it's basically my anxieties book. So whenever there's too much going on, I will write it down and I will brain dump it. And that allows me to dissect the information and see if it's an emotional problem or if there's actually something logistically that is going on in my world, my business, my life. So at this particular point, I was living in Canberra. I was maybe 2 or 3 years into my business, and nothing had happened yet. I didn't have a liquor license. I wasn't selling any wine. I didn't even have, like, everything was just a mess. And I wrote down this list. And the list was everything that had gone right up until that point, and then everything that had gone wrong up until that point. And then I worked out the conversion rate because I love numbers. And what I had found was that for every one thing that had gone to plan, 6 things had gone wrong.
Nice.
And after that, I just accepted it. I was like, okay, well, this is a part of the journey. And I had to shift my attitude to go, okay, so this is going to be hard work. Every one thing that's going to go right, 6 things are going to go wrong. And how can I accept this information? So what I did is basically pretended that I was at university for how to create a wine company. The money that I spent is what I would spend on a degree. Only at the end of it, I would come out with an actual wine company and product that I could sell. So this attitude protected me from the rest of the challenges, which included, number 1, almost losing all of my wine in a heat wave in Canberra because it was stored in a shed that was cold at the time that I put it in there, and then it all of a sudden heated up. So that was hard work. Then I didn't have a liquor license at one point. My business partner pretended to have a liquor license, but did not. So we were not able to sell any wine, and I had to wait, I think, a year or so to actually get my own. That was challenging because we didn't have a physical premise, and our online business was not really recognized by liquor licensing because, again, we were so far ahead of the curve. They didn't actually have the legislation to back that up. So that was hard. Then most recently, I lost all of my wine in a malfunction, again, a storage malfunction. That had to do with our projections of sales. So I assumed that the hard part of creating a brand new product in wine pouches would have been the actual logistics of creating the product. It took us a year to figure out how to put wine in a pouch without it going off. We bought the machinery. I invested over $100,000 in cash to actually get that process running. I didn't realize, or I didn't understand, that the manufacture and the invention of a product was just the beginning. The second stage of challenge was going to be the actual sales of that, to figure out how to sell it, who to sell it to. Now, in that gap, we had only projected like 2 weeks. We thought we would be selling in 2 weeks. It was crickets on launch day, and that wine sat there for 2 months and ended up all going off, which left us with nothing to sell. So figuring that out was another challenge. Then most recently, the third challenge that I'm in right at this second is the fact that I've been working for 8 months, I think, trying to get this product off the ground. And now we're starting to catch momentum, but now I'm exhausted because I've spent a year actually figuring out how to create this product. I've spent 8 months trying to sell and pitch it. Now the momentum's here and I have to maintain my energy and keep running in order to actually deliver the product. So they're just some surface level things. But I mean, gosh, the challenges went from everything from my old business partner trying to sue me to, again, losing all of our wine to, I don't know, not being able to get a winemaker to actually give me product, give me wine, because we are such a small blip in the ocean in the wine industry. And unless you're ordering tens of thousands of liters, you don't get a look in. So it's been a whole variety of challenges.
And Kata, now you're starting to gain that momentum. So looking back or in hindsight, what do you feel is your advice for people who are currently are kind of at the stage they might be thinking of just throwing in the towel on whatever it is they're going through, tough, like times getting tough, and they want to give up, right? What strategies have you used? What have you done? Do you have anything that you do for self-growth or self-talk or tips around basically continuing on and not giving up, basically?
Yes, I am a big facts person. I feel very comfortable when I have data, when I have real information, and I don't tend to trust my own self a whole lot. Like I really do a lot of self-doubt. So for me, in order to compensate for that, I use data. And when I'm looking at giving up, for example, when I was looking at giving up on these wine pouches because it was just too hard, I'd lost all the wine. I was like $200,000 in the hole from start to finish. Like I was just over the whole thing. I would write things down. I would write things down about how far I'd come, the feedback that I'd got, the customers that I have, the reviews that I have online. I would bounce things off my fiance, Nick. He is my biggest cheerleader, but also the biggest critic. Like he's so judgmental. So if I tell him something and he gives me positive feedback, I know for sure that is not skewed at all. That is real. So I use him a lot. But I also did a lot of research on the industry. Like, where is it going? Like, am I on a sinking ship, or am I in an industry that's booming? And when I looked at all of the numbers, I'm still perfectly positioned to absolutely boom in the niche that I've chosen because of the Australian wine industry, because of where the economy is, because of the projections about packaging. So I use that data as feedback to go, oh no, I'm actually in the right place. And if I give up, someone's going to take the idea and do it better. And that's just going to piss me off. So I would rather be frustrated but moving forward than
give up,
because I'm going to be frustrated giving up too. So both hurt, both are pain, but I'd rather still be in the game.
Yeah. And I want to say you are so resilient and amazing before Alice asked her question. So well done.
Yeah.
So
well, what's
resilient.
the other option? Like, imagine having such a big dream and then giving up and then seeing somebody else do it, or giving up and then what? Like, what am I going to do with my life if I give up on this? Like, I've committed to it. I have to drive it through. And to be honest, like, the company that I thought I was going to build doesn't exist anymore. When I started, I was creating aesthetic wine labels for wine bottles. That is as far as I wanted to take it. I just wanted cute pink labels on a bottle. I used to want it in a liquor store before I understood the margins and how that whole process goes of retailing. So the original dream that I had is nowhere to be seen anymore. Now I sell direct to consumer and I sell wine pouches. Like, that was not at all in the plan. And I think when you just don't give up, you just make the decision, like, come what may, I'm sticking with it. It allows you the flexibility to pivot and transform your business to better suit the market or the economy or your personality or your needs or your desires. So as long as you don't stop, it's not really dead.
Yeah, 100%. There is, what is it, like a cognitive fallacy, like cognitive bias of the sunk cost fallacy. You've heard of that? So
no, tell me more.
No. So basically, it's like a cognitive bias in our brain where sometimes we've invested so much time and money and energy into something that even though potentially it may not be the best thing to continue with that project or that thing or that relationship or that business or that product, whatever it is, sometimes our brain can have this fallacy where it's called the sunk cost. So we kind of disregard the time, the money, the energy, the effort, or we want to continue because it's like we put all our eggs in one basket and we want to continue with that, right? So I'm like,
you didn't come this far to come this far.
Exactly. And so like that can be something that is visible in people or in businesses and that kind of thing. And so I guess it's just so incredible that you've made that conscious decision, you've done all your research and you're going to stick with it. And then I'm so excited to see the future of it. Absolutely.
But you know what? Like, so at one point I had 3 businesses and now I only have 2, which means that I shut one. So when you sort of apply that bias to it, I think people maybe look a little bit too short term as well with these goals. So the 3rd business that I had, like I said, was that coaching business for sustainable and ethical network marketing.
Yes.
Now I made the decision to close that, but I made it strategically knowing that I was going to push forward with my network marketing business, achieve the top level, and then revisit the idea. So now there's things happening behind the scenes to not rebirth that exact same business, but when I closed it, it wasn't a forever. So even though it might have looked like I gave up or I quit, it was never that. And I think maybe sometimes in business, and I guess in any area of life, you need to know when to press pause or when to stop it because it's the most productive thing for you. Like, I don't believe in quitting just because you're failing, but I do believe in making the decision to stop or pause things. So I think sometimes people are in a position in their businesses where they're just so sick of beating their head against a wall that you kind of do need to take a step back and zoom out for a second and put it down. But I think people are scared to do that because they think it's either quitting or they don't know what's next. But when you're so frustrated and so close to the wall, you can't see all of the answers. You can't breathe. You're not letting opportunities flow through you. So I think with that same process that you said, sometimes a part of that and going, oh my God, I put so much into this, is going, I need to take a step back and let it breathe so I can really genuinely see if I want to continue or not, or adapt or pivot. But you need that space.
Yeah, I agree completely.
And sometimes you need to close one door in order for another door to open, right? So
yes,
it can be part of the
a stepping stone.
Yeah, exactly. And all the skills and resources and knowledge you've learned along the way, then that can be actually levitating you to the next project or next thing. 100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing we know you are super talented and skilled at is actually the structure, the planning, and the scheduling that you implement into your business, as well as storyboarding. So, we'd love to hear more about that from your perspective.
This stuff totally turns me on, honestly.
Yeah. Let it rip, Kata. Let it rip.
I love scheduling
too. So
I love scheduling. I love planning. I don't have a whole lot of self-belief. I'm not one of those people. It's like, I'm amazing. I can do everything. No, I don't believe that about myself. But I do believe a good plan is going to move you so far forward. And it is like, if you have what's the saying? A failure to plan is a plan
If you
to fail.
fail to plan, you plan to fail.
There you go. I believe that. I really do. And I think because I believe it, it works for me. So a couple of years ago, like I'm talking like 7 years ago, so a lot of years ago, I was at a team training with my network marketing business. And this is one of the most valuable things I ever learned from network marketing. A few other things too, but this one mainly. And my mentor at the time pulled out this book, and it was called The Passion Plan. And you can buy it online. They sell journals, but I only use like 2 or 3 pages from this entire book called The Passion Planner. And basically, what it teaches you to do is how to write down all of your dreams and goals. So it puts a timer on everything. It's like, okay, you have 2 minutes, and now you need to write down everything that you wish you could do, be, and have in lifetime, in 5 years, in 1 year, and in 3 months. So you write them all down in the 4 corners. In my lifetime, I want to buy, I don't know, $10 million worth of real estate. In 3 months, I want to increase my earnings by $5,000 in whatever. So you write down all of your goals. Then what it gets you to do is to go and circle one from each category that would have the single biggest impact on your life right now. So for example, if you said, I want to buy $10 million worth of real estate, but you've also said, well, I want to earn an additional $50,000 a year, you would circle the 50,000 because that's going to assist you in getting to your next goal. Then you go to the next stage. You pick the one goal out of all of them that is going to have the biggest impact on your life right now. So it could be, I don't know, increasing your business by 200%. And that's going to give you the money. That's going to help you buy the things. That's going to help you go to places, whatever. Usually is a financial goal. And then from there, you take a whole new page. You put that one goal in the center of the page. And then you put a timer on again for like 2 minutes. And you have to write every single task, action, thing that you can possibly do to achieve that one goal. So what it does is it gets all of these like concepts and it brings it right in to achievable activity. So let's say you wanted to increase your business by 200%. Every single thing that you could possibly do. One might be get on Google and Google how to, I don't know, update your website. One might be get on a call with a business mentor. But before that, there's an additional task, which is find a business mentor. And before that, there might be an additional task, which is call my friend Gina and ask her who she knows that's a business mentor. So you want to break things down into molecular, like tiny little steps. The first time I did this, my first task all the way back from all of those separate sections was go buy a paper diary because I had no way of organizing my life at that point. So you'd be surprised at what shows up on that page. From there, what you do then is start deciding how long each task is going to take. So if I have to go to the post office to post some product samples to someone, that's going to take me 20 minutes. If I'm going to go, on a phone call, that's going to take me an hour. So you figure out how long it's going to take, and then you figure out in what sequence you're going to do it. Now, sequence is the thing that I am most obsessed with. Like I won't even go to the post office unless I know why I'm going there. Am I getting groceries on the way back because it's convenient? Am I coming into the office first, grabbing the orders, taking them all in one go? Like there's nothing that I hate more than double handling.
It's strategic chunking things together.
Yes. And flow. See, when you take the time to figure things out in a good sequence, things flow. Things are easy. You're not like jagged. So that whole passion planning is something that I have done over and over and over and over again. And every single time I do it, I achieve the thing that I want to do, including the wine not launch, including setting up the office, including getting wine pouches sorted, including the promotion to the top level with network marketing. Nothing has been by accident in my life. Everything has been planned. The time frame has always stretched, always.
Mm.
But the actual tasks to get to that goal are black and white. It's not a miracle. It's not magic. It's simply doing the right actions in the right steps, in the right sequence until you get to the goal. So that's why I'm so obsessed with it, because people don't realize how much control you truly have over your goals if you just know what to do and when and in what order.
It's very methodical or procedural, isn't it? Like that approach. Do you find that at some stage throughout going through the process and ticking the boxes off, as you get higher up to potentially the more difficult things or the things that are getting closer to the end goal, do you find that there are any like limiting beliefs or psychological blocks that start to come into play? Because obviously like buying the paper diary, that's task driven, right? Go to the shop, choose one and buy it, compared to as it comes up further up the ranks, there might be something around like putting yourself out there, or doing a certain presentation or talk or something that is a bit more emotionally driven potentially, compared to purchasing something.
Yeah, good question. What you'll find is that every task can be broken down into smaller tasks that prepare you for that task. So what I have found when I coach this out to my team is that if there's one thing that they're scared to do, the task is too big. They haven't broken it down into smaller chunks. So let's say it is pitching your business. So I pitch my business every single day to different companies as part of my sales strategy. But in the beginning, I wasn't doing it. Why? Because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know who to say it to. I didn't know how to say it. I had all of these questions. So I had to break it down because that chunk was too big for me. So what I did is broke it down into sections. Number one, I'm lucky my fiance is in direct sales. He's a real estate agent. So I shared with him my goal. This is what I'm trying to do. What do you think I should say? We would backwards, forwards until I got it. I would get him on the phone to do the calls while I would listen until I got it. I got him to rewrite emails for me until I got it. I made him his own sales at Why Not the Brand email account so he could do it for me so I could watch until I got it. So that was one part of it. The next part was preparing myself with a documentation that I could lean on, because again, I freak out, I ramble, I didn't know what to say. So one of my to-do lists was to create a wholesale document that had the price on it. It had the percentage that they're making. It had what we offer. It had the sales points. It had everything. So if I was going to freak out, I could very easily just go, here's our wholesale sheet. Let me know what you think. So I prepared myself with the tools and the resources around me so that the action didn't seem scary anymore, because I knew how to do it. I knew when to do it. I knew in what sequence, because I had broken it down to those smaller chunks. So when someone's avoiding a task, it is always one of a few reasons. Number one, they don't know what to do. They don't know what the next thing is. So they're like, okay, I have an office, now what? Like they don't know to do a launch. They don't know what the next step is. So the what? The next step is that they don't know how to do it. Okay, so I have to do a business launch. How do I do that? I have no idea how to do it, in which case you need to look for the steps. But the third one, and this is actually the simplest, but in my opinion, from coaching hundreds of women over the last 10 years, is actually the thing that gets in most people's way, is they don't know when to do something. They don't make the time. Their life is just flowing consciously or unconsciously. And without finding pieces of time to do things that are important to change the trajectory of your life, it's never going to happen. So the number one thing that I do with anybody, myself included, is I find the exact time that I'm going to do things. This meeting was in my diary. If it wasn't, it wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have remembered. I would have been busy filling wine pouches or shipping orders or something, but I made time for it. We make time for our partners. We book in date night, because if we don't, we're going to neglect them because other things take control. So I think that's why I'm obsessed with like scheduling, because again, you take back control and power when you give yourself the time to learn a new skill, to ask for help, to write something down.
I love it. It's very practical. And so I think from like the point of view of someone who runs multiple businesses, you're very successful, and you've really put yourself out there. You've put yourself in the deep end many times before. Like a lot of the time I find when we're looking for inspiration around people who have done this, we hear a lot of chat around things like manifestation, the law of attraction, but I would love to hear your approach or your thoughts around that.
Yes, I saw this question. It actually took me a second to really think about it, because my immediate reaction was, yeah, sure, I believe in manifestation, the law of attraction. But then I thought about it and I was like, no, I use the words law of attraction and manifestation because it's acceptable and it's understood. And for the most part, I think people kind of get it. But I think it's a very easy way to glaze over it. Here's what I believe. I believe your brain is the most powerful machine. Everything we see on this earth is created by somebody's brain. It's not because someone freaking manifested it. It's because they thought it through, they took action, they created something. However, I do believe in energy. The whole world is energy, vibration, and particles. I come from a scientific family. My dad constantly talks to me about, I don't know, black holes and how molecular structures do all sorts of stuff. He's a chemical scientist. He's lived creating different polymers and whatnot. So the way that I have been programmed is to believe that anything is possible if you set your mind to it, because your brain, one of the most powerful machines in the world, is going to look for solutions. Knowing that we have this reticular activating system, which is basically our primal brain, which is constantly looking to protect us, to help us, when you give it a task, it's going to find an answer. Now, it might take time, but the best example of this that I really started to understand this was when I did start in my network marketing business. And as a part of the compensation plan, there's a part of it where you get cash to go towards a white Mercedes. Before that, I had never in my life ever noticed a white Mercedes-Benz, not one time on the road ever. As soon as I decided that I was going to earn that white Mercedes-Benz cash bonus, my brain started seeing white Mercedes-Benzes everywhere. Like I would every day, every single time I was looking, like anywhere, I would see one. Now, was that the law of attraction and manifestation bringing white Mercedes-Benzes to me for me to see? Or was that my brain going, the task at hand is to earn a white Mercedes-Benz, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. Now, that's a really simplistic way of sharing that. But what I have found is that when you say, I want to have a wine company, you've tasked your brain. From there, I'm just on Tinder. I'm not looking for a wine consultant. How random would that be? What kind of plan would that be? I'm just on Tinder and I happen to notice wine consultant, wine thing. My brain's like wine company, wine, wine. Now, someone who believes in manifestation would just say, he's just going to show up at your door. He's just going to help you create this wine company. No. I noticed it and I took action. I was like, here's an idea. I should pitch my idea to him. And then the next stage happened. And then the next stage happened because I continued to task my brain. So manifestation and law of attraction, I feel like I understand in a different way. I don't like the explanations of, like you said, where you just think about it and it magically appears, because there's always some kind of action or change or conversation or movement required for you to get your goal. I think this is where a lot of people set themselves up to fail, because they sit at home, they go, okay, I want $1 million. But then they don't pick up the phone to call the person that they think of next, who happens to have a successful business, who would probably hire them, who would then introduce them to somebody who would like they're not letting the wheels start turning. So I don't know, that's a convoluted explanation, but
I think you explained it really well.
So did I.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thanks.
It is really about action, right? You have to take the action. You can think about it or wish for it or manifest it, but you still have to take the conscious actions and like you said, put the processes in place yourself consciously to move forward towards your goals. You can't just expect things to just fall into place. And I guess, if anything that we can take away from you today is that being successful takes it's hard work to achieve goals. It's not always just, rainbows and easy success. And, it takes challenges. You've got to continue to, push past times that, maybe you want to give up. And you have to put in the work, basically.
And have that clear vision, right? You got to know what you want. You got to know why you want that, and then allow your reticular activating system to take over and show you more of that. Like another way to say it is that there is so much information that our brain needs to process every single second. We would go mental, get stressed, go crazy if our brain actually literally had to consciously process all of that information, right? So it automatically filters out what we deem as valuable, what
Yes.
that aligns with what we believe, what we value, what we're actually wanting to see. So yeah, I think you nailed it.
Yeah. Well, if you don't tell your brain what to do, it's going to do something else anyway. So you may as well put the information in first and plug in where you want to go first, because like you said, it's always going to be working. And if you're not the one directing it, you're going to be directed by whatever else is loudest, whether it's a partner, whether it's a colleague, whether it's something that your company that you're currently working for is doing, whether it's someone online telling you to do something, whether it's unconscious from TV shows that you're watching. Your brain is always going to be moving you in some direction. But one thing I was going to say too, I think you said, Alice, that it is hard work, but there's something that you can do that empowers you to keep going. And this is something that I didn't bring up before, but you always have a choice to stop. And I think people perhaps get too stressed in business, which I know all three of us have done before because, we talk about it all the time. But the reason that all three of us are still here and still doing exactly what we're doing is because when we are stressed, when it is hard, we've all taken a step back and gone, well, what's the alternative? If I don't keep going, if I don't push through this, what's the alternative? And am I okay with that? Now, some people, especially in the network marketing business, they go, what's the alternative of doing this? Not doing this. And what's the consequences of not doing this? Well, nothing. My life stays the same. Am I okay with that? Actually, I am. I would rather my life stay exactly the same and not have the hard work than do the hard work, go through the challenges, have a better version of my life, but go through the work. So there's a piece there that people miss, which is the empowering factor. And this is why people that are obsessed and love what they do continue to do what they do, because every day we wake up and we go, we don't have to do this. This is a choice. No one's got a gun to our head saying you better get online and put that piece of content out. But we go, well, what's the alternative? The deep regret, sliding backwards, losing an income. We're not okay. We don't want to end up on the dole. We don't want to end up in a job. We prefer this hard than that hard. And that's a choice. And it's an empowering choice that a lot of us miss because we're so focused on the challenge. We don't realize we have the choice not to take the challenge. We could sit down anytime we want, but we choose not to.
I love that.
Yeah. It's what are you focusing on? Absolutely.
Well, what do you want more?
Yeah. Thank you, Kata. It's been a pleasure.
No
Is there
worries.
anything you'd like to say
Fun.
before we wrap up?
No, I just think anyone who has a dream, you have it there for a reason. The desire to scratch the itch, go for it, give it a go, do it. Because just taking one step forward, like you don't need to see the whole staircase. I did not see wine pouches in my future. It was not even an idea until 2 years ago. But just taking that one step forward is going to lead you to amazing things. And if that, itch is, I want to go overseas, I want to live in Mexico for a year, like do it, because when you're there, something else will happen. The next step will unfold. And I feel like a lot of people don't even start because you think that you have to have the entire thing figured out. And when I started Why Not, I originally had it on Kickstarter. That was a failure. Then I actually pitched it to an investor in Miami, somebody that I knew that had a lot of money. And he wanted me to write down a full business plan for Why Not. He wanted to know who was going to be the CEO in 5 years' time. He wanted to know which company we're going to sell it to for how many billions of dollars. He made me write this full plan. And I almost gave up the whole company because I was like, this is not fun. How on earth am I supposed to know who's going to run the social media in 15 years' time? Like the question seemed so ridiculous because it was coming from a place of investment and not passion. And had I continued to listen to that dialogue and conversation, I never would have done this business because creating all the steps so far in advance was just impossible. So I ditched that idea and I ended up just doing it the next step at a time. What's the next step? We need to come up with a name. What's the next step? I need to find wine. What's the next step? So I think if someone has something that they're trying to work towards, like number one, speak to someone who's done it before. Find the person who you can ask. Number two, sense check it and be careful who you're sense checking it with. Look at who your circle is. Number three, just take the next step. And every single time that next step unfolds, decide, do I want to continue with this? What's worth it more? Do I want to sit down and give up on this? In which case it's a choice. It's not failure, it's a choice. Or do I want to continue to grow through this? Because on the other side, like, yes, it's hard, but I haven't had a job in 8 years. I haven't been employed by somebody else in 8 years. I've been on commission only sales for 8 years. And now I have my own wine company. Like, it's amazing. We have a boat. We have these beautiful things. I'm engaged to the love of my life. Like, I have the best friends in the whole world. Like, my life is absolute magic. And I never, ever would have thought that this was possible for me. So every single time you hit a challenge, just know that there's something amazing on the other side of it. There's always reciprocal energy, always positive reciprocal energy. So don't just focus on the hard, focus on what you're creating, the legacy, the story, who you're inspiring, what else you can create for your family through that process. Because sometimes you need more than you. Sometimes it needs to be for your dad who has cancer, or for your fiance who's over his job, or for somebody else. So find that purpose and remember that it's always going to be worth it. I always say your dreams are worth the effort.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Kata.
Thank you,
No
Kata.
worries, girls.
I feel like that is definitely a sign for anyone out there listening to our podcast who's thinking of starting something, got a new idea, making a change. If you needed a sign, today was definitely it, to take that very, very, very first and very small step in the process, as Kata has so kindly demonstrated for us. Remember to break those goals down.
And Kata, one more thing before you go, we'd love to let our listeners know where to find you, and also how to, let's say, invest in your delicious wine.
Yes, investing in
their
wine
own
is the best. Well, we have a couple of bottles left, but mainly all wine pouches. We've got red, white, and rosé, and they're all vegan friendly. And just go to winenotthebrand.com to shop, or you can visit our Instagram at winenotthebrand.
Amazing. And then your personal handle as well, where can people find you?
Yes. So you can find all the Why Not stuff there, all of the behind the scenes stuff, and network marketing content is at Kata Cser, Katacer.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'll include that in the show notes as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Wrap it up, Al.
And I should say, if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you take a screenshot, share it with your friends, and don't forget to join our Body and Beyond podcast. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, guys. Fuck, where's the button?
The Body and Beyond podcast is for information purposes only. This podcast does not constitute advice or services, and the statements and views of the hosts and guests are not medical advice. The information provided should not be used for treatment or diagnosis purposes. Please discuss any information from this podcast with your healthcare professional before making any changes to your lifestyle.